What if we told you that one of the most crisis-ridden countries in the world is also one of the hardest to conquer? Yes, this is Venezuela, a land where jungles, rivers, mountains, and swamps form natural walls, where even the strongest armies would be swallowed whole before reaching Caracas, and where politics, geography, and sheer chaos make invasion a nightmare no general wants to plan. So why is Venezuela, despite its troubles, nearly impossible to invade? Let's find out. Start with the basics. Terrain. Venezuela is one of the most geographically diverse countries in Latin America. To the north, it faces the Caribbean Sea, lined with swamps and marshes. To the south lies the vast Amazon rainforest. To the west, the towering Andes Mountains cut the land into rugged barriers. And in the center, the Llanos, endless savanna plains that flood for months each year, making mechanized warfare nearly impossible. Invaders don't face simple battlefields. They face jungles where troops disappear, rivers that flood without warning, and mountains that act like fortresses. Even if you make it through nature, Venezuela's cities are traps in their own right. Caracas, the capital, sits in a narrow valley surrounded by steep hills. Any invading force would find itself choked in winding streets, vulnerable to ambushes, cut off from resupply. Military planners have a saying, "Urban combat is the great equalizer." In Caracas, it becomes a bloodbath. Then there's the Orinoco River, one of the longest in South America. It slices across Venezuela like a massive moat, nearly 2,100 kilometers long. Crossing it with tanks and trucks isn't just difficult, it's suicidal. If defenders control the bridges and ferries, any army trying to invade would find itself funneled into predictable choke points. History proves the point. For centuries, Venezuela's geography frustrated colonial powers, rebels, and invaders alike. During the Wars of Independence in the early 1800s, Spanish forces struggled not just against Bolivar's rebels, but against the brutal terrain itself, jungle and llanos, that killed more men than bullets. Fast forward to today. The Venezuelan jungle isn't just a natural defense, it's a fortress for irregular warfare. Think guerrilla fighters, militias, and smugglers who already know the terrain better than any foreign soldier. Even the United States military, with all its power, would face the same nightmare it did in Vietnam or Iraq. Endless insurgency and terrain stacked against them. If you're enjoying this breakdown, hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps us bring you more deep dives into global geopolitics. Now, let's get back to why Venezuela is untouchable. Here's the twist. Venezuela doesn't just defend itself with geography. It defends itself with oil. Sitting on the world's largest proven oil reserves, nearly 300 billion barrels, any foreign attempt to invade would trigger global chaos. Imagine oil prices tripling overnight. Countries from China to India, dependent on Venezuelan crude, would step in politically, maybe even militarily, to block such a move. And it's not just economics. Venezuela has cultivated strategic ties with Russia, China, Iran, and Cuba. These aren't just friendships on paper. They mean military hardware, intelligence sharing, and sometimes boots on the ground. In fact, Russia has supplied advanced surface-to-air missile systems like the S-300VM, making Venezuelan skies extremely dangerous for any invading air force. Despite its economic collapse, Venezuela's military still packs a punch. Its air force fields Russian-made Sukhoi Su-30 fighter jets, some of the most capable in South America. Its navy controls strategic Caribbean ports, and the Orinoco Delta itself is a natural minefield for ships. Even outdated hardware can become deadly when combined with home terrain. But perhaps Venezuela's greatest weapon isn't official at all. The country is flooded with militias, paramilitaries, and irregular armed groups. From colectivos in the cities to guerrillas in the jungle, any invader would face not just the Venezuelan army, but tens of thousands of armed locals. Occupation wouldn't just be hard, it would be impossible to stabilize. Consider the United States. Washington has long opposed Venezuela's government, even labeling it a threat to regional stability. Yet despite decades of tension, sanctions, and even covert operations, the U.S. has never invaded. Why? Because the Pentagon knows what others ignore. Venezuela is a quagmire waiting to happen. It would make Iraq look simple by comparison. Imagine the logistics. An invading army must cross jungle borders with Colombia or Brazil, secure bridges over the Orinoco, hold cities built in valleys and mountains, protect long supply lines from constant ambush, all while under threat from advanced missiles and fighter jets. It's the classic nightmare scenario military strategists warn against. Too many fronts, too many choke points, too much resistance. And it wouldn't stop at Venezuela's borders. Any invasion risks destabilizing all of northern South America. Millions of Venezuelan refugees have already fled the country during its crisis. A full-scale war would create a migration disaster bigger than Syria, flooding Colombia, Brazil, and the Caribbean with people. No regional government wants that. And here's the kicker. While Venezuela doesn't have nuclear weapons, it sits under an informal nuclear umbrella. Russia and China have both signaled that an invasion would be unacceptable. Neither wants U.S. troops parked on the doorstep of South America's oil reserves. That alone acts as a powerful deterrent. Now, let's be clear. Venezuela is not invincible. If a determined superpower launched a full-scale war, the country could be occupied, at least on paper. But the cost? Astronomical. Jungle attrition, urban insurgencies, global economic chaos, regional instability, and great power confrontation. The question isn't, can you invade Venezuela? The question is, why would anyone dare to try? So while Venezuela may look fragile from the outside, it is one of the toughest invasion targets on Earth. Not because it's strong, but because it's a trap. A trap that swallows armies, shatters supply chains, and drags superpowers into endless quagmires. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit subscribe and drop a comment below. Which country do you think would be even harder to invade than Venezuela? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.